Hi there, warriors. Welcome to the Uruguay Heroes YouTube channel. Today we will talk about Uruguay's potential path to glory at the 2026 World Cup. And here in front of you, you see all the round of 32 scenarios for Uruguay going into this World Cup. So this World Cup, and it's been the case for tournaments like the Euros and the Copa America, the best number threes or 8 of the 12 best number threes will go through. So that's a big opportunity for many nations to get the first knockout stage spot in their history. For Uruguay, if that's gonna be our road to the round of 32, something has gone wrong, horribly wrong. Because when you're in a group with Spain, obviously big favorites, but Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde, the minimum is finishing second, and that's what I think is the most likely outcome of our group stages. And then we will face Argentina most probably because I think they will win Group J. Um, but if we manage to displace Spain, we will face the runner-up of Group J, which will be most likely Algeria and Austria. Then the third option is finishing one of the best number threes. 8 out of 12 number threes will go through, and we will then play the winner of Group A, which most likely will be Mexico. G, probably Belgium. I, probably France, and then L, it's gonna most probably be England. So these are the scenarios. So there is an outcome where we will finish as the number third in our group, and we will have a more favorable round of 32 opponent than if we would finish second. That's possible, obviously. But okay, if we obviously finish third and drop points against Saudi Arabia, Cape Verde, our confidence or our or the likeliness of us actually going on a run, even if we have a good run of 32 opponent, has diminished in my opinion. So these are all if buts and maybes. It's interesting. It's nice to go through it, but we will have to find out. Yeah. So let's go into our group a little bit. I mean, we discussed it earlier in my previous video. Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, and Spain. I mean, Spain. What can you tell about them? It's the European champions. They have some great players. In my opinion, they have probably the greatest footballer on planet Earth right now, Lamine Yamal. So they have got some exceptional footballers from the attack to the defense. I mean, I think the defense is their like weak link or their weak side, but still they have great players in there. So it's going to be a really tough matchup for us in the group stages, but also great, because it's great that you face one of the favorites to win the World Cup in a group stage without. I mean, the match, even if we lose it, it shouldn't or it probably doesn't have a lot of consequences for us because we know going into the group we have to beat Saudi Arabia and Cape Verde. And against Spain, getting a result would be fantastic because if we finish first, it's going to be better for us. But we don't need to win against Spain to go through. So then it's a game where you can really feel what it is to play against a top team like Spain at this World Cup. So we can learn from it, even if we lose. So in that sense, it's a positive. But yeah, like I said, it's going to be difficult to get a result against them. Certainly the way we have been playing in the last 18 months. But yeah, Spain, big favorites to win the group stages. Then, or our group, sorry. Then go to Cape Verde. Cape Verde is an interesting team. Many or quite a lot of them play in Portugal. They have some decent players, some technical players. And they got a result against Serbia, I think, in the friendly recently. So it's an interesting team, and it's a team that I believe could surprise or could be like a favorite to like the neutral fans or just the World Cup fans in general, because they probably will come with a bit of flair. And yeah, I'm interested to see how they will do against us, obviously, but I don't think it's going to be a walkover, an easy game per se. So yeah, because I mean, we can go to their qualification process. They finished their first in their qualification group, uh, leaving Cameroon in second place. And Cameroon is not the team that it has been for like, I mean, they had periods obviously with Eto'o when they were a good team when they won the Africa Cup or the African Cup of Nations. But still, it's a decent result to finish above Cameroon, and they obviously I think this is their first World Cup. I'm pretty sure. I can maybe check for a second. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's their first World Cup. So it's historic for them. And they're a decent team. So, but we obviously should beat them. Then we move on to Saudi Arabia. They started the qualification process by finishing second behind Jordan on the goal difference. Then they advanced to the third qualifying round, in which they finished third behind Japan and Australia. And then eventually in the fourth round, because the Asian the qualification process is quite insane, they finished ahead of Iraq on goal difference, and they qualified for the World Cup. I mean, with Saudi Arabia, the thing is that obviously they got that big result against Argentina in 4 years ago, but by beating them in the opening game of their group stages. But then eventually they were knocked out in the same group stage. So it's a decent team. I think they can pull off some shock results like they did against Argentina. But it's still a team that we, Uruguay, should beat comfortably. But I guess we're gonna have to find out if we are able to do so. Because you remember the game in 2018 where Uruguay faced Saudi Arabia in, I think, the second game in the group stages after beating Egypt with a late winner from Hossama. Uruguay faced Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay beat Saudi Arabia thanks to Luis Suarez goal, who scored from a corner. Was kind of a weird corner, but he got a connection to it, and Uruguay took the lead. And then in pure Tabares and Uruguay style, kind of how do you say? I mean, this was a game when you go up with 1-0 in the first half, you should feel comfortable to kind of score some goals, to have a good result, to enjoy yourself. And Uruguay kind of really stayed pragmatic, just were happy with the 1-0 win, and it remained 1-0. And it's a win, don't get me wrong, but it was kind of, I remember watching the game and I'm thinking, I mean, Suarez scored this goal. I mean, he had a tough game against Egypt when he missed quite a few chances in the opening game in that World Cup. And I was thinking, let's get some goals. I want to see Suarez break the record of most goals in the World Cup for Uruguay. I want to see him compete to be the top scorer of the tournament. But oh well, I mean, that's, I guess, Uruguay as well, and especially on the tablets. But yeah, I'm interested to see how this game will pan out. It's going to be our opening game at the World Cup against Saudi Arabia. So yeah, in Miami Gardens, with probably Suarez in the stands, but obviously not part of the squad. So let's see. Then I will switch to this. I've done this quite quickly, but I want to see our path to glory. So I will pick Uruguay to go through regardless in this bracket, because I just want to see what is the path to glory. But we can maybe quickly skim through these groups. This is also, I mean, some groups I did quickly, and I can see a different order happening as well. Especially, for example, with Netherlands, Sweden, and Japan. I mean, I'm Dutch, but I can see Netherlands, although they have good players, not in the greatest way. So not having a great deal of confidence. So I think that group F, is difficult to kind of predict, because I think Netherlands, Sweden, Japan, it could be anybody could finish any place from 1 to 3. But other than that, the group of Uruguay, I think Uruguay will go through a second place. I think that will happen, and I think they should, obviously. And then this group, it's really open. I mean, many groups are quite open because of the volume and the quantity of teams in this World Cup. That the quality therefore has diminished in certain groups, and certainly in the groups where Mexico, the US, and Canada, I mean, they are group heads. You know, they are like the first seat in the group. So it's quite open in these ones. Then I think in Group J, which is going to be an interesting one for us, because we most likely will face the winners, or either runner-ups of that group, depending on where we will finish. Argentina, the big favorites, and then Austria and Algeria will probably fight for the second place. Okay, these are the group stages. Like I said, quite quickly I've done them, but I think that's pretty much how it's gonna finish. Then we go to the round of 32, because obviously with 48 teams and 8 number 3s advancing, another game has been added to this World Cup run. So the famous 7 games is now turned into the famous 8 games that you need to win the World Cup. So yeah, I think Morocco probably will, if this scenario goes through, and with Uruguay or with Netherlands finishing first, I think Morocco can pull off an upset. I think they're a really good side. Then Uruguay will obviously pull off the upset against Argentina. We all know that that's gonna happen. It's no doubt in our mind. So let's hope it's gonna happen. I mean, that's gonna be a really tough game to be quite honest. But I mean, Uruguay beat Argentina when they were on top of the world, having won the World Cup, being quite uh, well, they were unplayable at that moment in time. And Uruguay beat them 2-0 at the La Bombonera. Kind of a really not the Bielsa style performance, more like a Tabárez style performance, but really defensively fight quite solid, great shape, quite pragmatic, and the ability to hurt um, Argentina on the break. With I mean the one with Matias Vinha winning the ball high up on the pitch, and then finding Araujo at the other side of the box who scored the goal. Darwin the counter attack goal. I mean, this is a game where obviously kind of form or like the way we are playing goes out of the window because it's such a one-off game. Playing Argentina, especially at the World Cup, it's has such historic connotations. It has such a special feeling. So I think really everything can happen. And it's still true that Argentina are the big favorites in that game, but Uruguay can certainly pull off the upset in that game. So and for the sake of the bracket, I've put them through. But if we arrive at that game, I will believe that. I will put money on it, even if it's delusional, even if we don't have a great chance. I will do it because what's the point for following a team if you don't believe they can actually achieve something? Okay, round of 16. I think yeah, Uruguay will face Paraguay. That's the thing. If Uruguay goes through in the round of 32, we have an accessible game in the round of 16. In Uruguay, Paraguay, 2011 Copa America final. Uruguay won that 1 3-0. Recent games, Uruguay and Paraguay has some kind of times they really produce a dull game, like a 1-0, really combative, not a great deal of beautiful football. Or so it's recently it's not been a great game for most of the times. But I think Uruguay will have the upper hand in that game if this scenario comes to life. Then quarterfinals. So you can ignore basically the other matchups. I mean, I think they could happen all of them, and I think Brazil probably, or sorry, France obviously beat Morocco. I think Spain, Belgium, Brazil, England's gonna be a bit closer. I don't know. I've picked Brazil because England has that bottle gene. I think they really mess up, in the vital moments, vital games at a tournament. So, but it's mainly about Uruguay. I just want to see or show you their path to glory. And Uruguay, if they go through against Argentina and Paraguay, then they will face most probably Portugal in the quarterfinals. And it's not the first time. 8 years ago was the same game. Is one of my favorite games of Uruguay at the World Cup that I've been able to watch. I think it's Uruguay England because the 2010 World Cup, I didn't really watch Uruguay that much because I wasn't a fan of Uruguay like I was now, and I was quite young as well. Um, so Uruguay England in 2014, and then I think this one Uruguay Portugal 2-1 at the 2018 World Cup. The Cavani performance was a great game. For me, it's a game that I want to see from Uruguay. Not beautiful, not pretty, not like gallery plays, stuff like this. No, being proper Uruguay fighting and having the quality in the final third as well, like a Garacharua performance. And that's the game that Uruguay obviously beat. I'm sorry, I said quarterfinals. Obviously round of 16, my bad, because the quarterfinal was against France. But that's the type of performance Uruguay. I love Uruguay, because of that type of performance. Um, and if Uruguay face Portugal in this quarterfinal, I mean, Portugal have a great team. Their midfield, I mean, it's basically the Paris Saint-Germain midfield with Bruno Fernandes added to it. And then you have great players all over the pitch. I mean, Ronaldo is going to play a sixth World Cup. Hopefully for them, he's not going to be a detriment to them like he's been in the previous two tournaments, in my opinion. But that's a great matchup. And I will obviously go for Uruguay. But I mean, people saying Portugal, I obviously know what you're saying, and probably you're right. But I'm still going to believe or pick Uruguay any day of the week. Then semifinals, Brazil, Uruguay. I mean, talk about historic matchups. Um, I think actually Uruguay. If this all happens, if this all happens, I don't see Uruguay not having a good chance there because Brazil, there's some kind of I mean, Brazil has whooped our asses quite a few times in recent decades, I would say. But when it comes to the crunch games, to the really big games in tournaments, and it's not happened an awful lot in recent years, to be honest. But the ones that did happen, yeah, the last one in 2024, obviously, when we beat them on penalties. So the big games and the tournaments, Uruguay have a decent, actually a good record against Brazil. And this time around, it's gonna happen again. Uruguay are gonna beat Brazil in the semifinals and will be World Cup finalists. What happened? We have to manifest it. And then France, yeah, it's not gonna be easy. But we're gonna take revenge for 2018 when Mbappe was a young boy. He had an attitude, and all our players were really triggered in that game, which Uruguay eventually lost 2-0. And we're gonna take revenge. Mbappe is gonna lose another final. And Uruguay are gonna lift another World Cup. Gonna have their fifth star on the chest. It's gonna happen, guys. Come on. Okay. I hope this is gonna be true, but obviously it's gonna be really difficult. One more thing to raise or to mention about that France game in 2018 is obviously Cavani was injured. Uruguay were toothless up front, and that's not a joke on Suarez, but that's pretty much the way to characterize our performance. But still, in that game, when Uruguay went 1-0 down in the first half, I remember, and this is something that kind of flashes into my mind occasionally throughout the years, that header from Cáceres, just at the brink of halftime, like we were almost at the break, and Cáceres hit the header, and Lloris with a great save to deny Cáceres. And then it would have been 1-1 going into the second half. Who knows what would have happened then? I mean, France were a better team, obviously, and they went on to win the World Cup. So it's no catastrophe to be beaten by that side back then. Yeah, let's just hope Uruguay or this kind of delusional and maybe wishful thinking of mine can actually be realized, can be truth in like what is it, 5 6 weeks. Would be great. So one thing I will finish on, I thought that was interesting. I saw this, and this is basically, I mean, Uruguay are now the 17th ranked national team in world football. Um, and this, I mean, in 2010 we were 16th, and obviously we had to run to the semifinals, and we finished sixth at the end of the, or we went out of the World Cup, and the rankings were updated, and we were sixth. 2014 we were, I mean, at the lead up to the World Cup, and like in the years before that, from 2011, 2012, 2013, Uruguay were ranked extremely high all the time. Then we had kind of a blip up in 2012, 2013 a little bit, so we kind of um, went down. But Uruguay were among the top nations in world football at that moment in time. And then obviously we went out against Colombia in the round of 16, but beat Italy and England, two former world champions. So that's why we still increased our position in the rankings. 2018, 14th, went to the quarterfinals, beat Portugal, obviously, the reigning European champions at that moment in time. So we actually eventually were fifth after the World Cup. And then the 2022, yeah, that was a bad one. 14th, and then going out of in the group stages. So we finished eventually on 16th. So yeah, that's basically the way it has been in previous years. Now we're 17th. I think, you know what, if what is the most likely outcome of Uruguay at this World Cup? It's probably gonna be round of six, round of 32 against Argentina. That's gonna be where our tournament ends. If I'm looking at it, like take all the emotion, take all of my bias out of it, that's probably what's gonna happen. Um, but who knows? Uruguay have surprised before. Uruguay have arrived at the World Cup in 2010 as I think the last nation to qualify for it, and eventually were so close to reaching the final in that game against Netherlands. So everything can happen, and I'm looking forward to Uruguay and Bielsa surprising me, shutting me up. I would love nothing more than that. So yeah. Okay, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe the video. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm gonna do more of this. And I will see you, I guess, the next time. Bye bye.